Hi guys! So what I really wanted to film today was the third installment in the series that I have planned, which is about embellishments because I'm literally a magpie obsessed with sparkly things, but we've got to get construction out of the way first. Presumably you've selected your fabric already, and if you haven't seen my video on fabric for figure skating, I will link it down in the description. But before we can get around to turning you into a fantastically glittery skater, you'll have to actually put your costume together, which is by far the most annoying part. Due to the nature of skating costumes, the construction is a little bit different from most garments, which is why I wanted to go over it. Now, I drape my own patterns for all my costumes, but Yuri cosplays are an exception due to the fitting and negative ease. It's a huge hassle, so I'd rather just buy a skating pattern, and I suggest you do the same, unless of course you're trained in flat pattern drafting, which would be way easier. I am horrible at math and flat patterning and geometry and all of those patterny things, so unfortunately that is not for me. Skating dress patterns are offered by many pattern companies, both large and small, and I'll leave all of the following links down in the description box. Notable ones include Quixo, Jaylee, and Green Pepper, and if you happen to own a Sailor Moon pattern released by either Simplicity or McCall's, you can certainly alter that to work as well. However, the absolute best source is Specialty Sportswear Patterns. They offer tons of designs, and as far as I'm aware, they're the only retailer to offer a variety of men's and boys skating patterns. Jaylee offers just one pants pattern, where Specialty Sportswear even has the perfect base for Victor's pink purple tailcoat thingy. I'll insert a photo here. They're a little bit on the pricier side, but they are definitely the most useful. Their instructions are really clear, and this is really helpful when it gets to complicated sections like inserting a skirt made of not stretchy fabric into a stretchy leotard in a way that it will fit over your hips, but also fit smoothly at your waist. And this is very complicated, so I don't really want to go into it in this video. I'd suggest just picking up the pattern and reading the instructions. You'll probably still hate yourself for trying to do that though. It's basically the worst thing ever. Keep in mind the difference between ice dance and freestyle costumes. There's not a large difference with men, but as far as women go, ice dance costumes have longer skirts and much more risque top designs, whereas freestyle costumes have very short skirts and they're much more covered up top. Now, as far as actual construction goes, the body of both men's and women's costumes is usually a double layer of spandex. Here's where men's costumes get a little bit surprising though. Their shirts are actually leotards. They have an attached brief to prevent shifting and riding up, and the pants go over that. Men's figure skating pants are pretty much identical to normal dress pants. They're just made out of a stretchy material and have a small strap that hooks underneath the skate to keep the pants in place. Accordingly, both men's and women's standard figure skating costumes are essentially leotards, with the exception of women's having a seam where the skirt is attached. This is of course a little bit different for jumpsuits and unitards for both genders, but if you're new to sewing with stretch fabric or sewing in general, or you don't want to go to the hassle of drafting a unitard because those are incredibly complex to fit, I would suggest just sticking with the good old leotard and skirt or pants option. Much simpler. For ladies, competitive figure skaters usually aren't too busty, so the simple double layer of spandex in the bodice area isn't usually an issue, but if you do need a little bit more support, consider sewing bra cups directly into the leotard. Additionally, my favorite trick for people who are a little bit fluffier is to use compression spandex as the inner layer. It has a really sleek effect, and I personally use it in every stretchy garment I sew for myself. If your design has straps in the back like Sara or Mickey's sister, you're going to want to note that these aren't actually a structural element. They're just tacked in place over a single layer of power mesh or spandex. Since they really need to stretch with the skater's movements, they aren't sewn down fully. For all you who intend to gender bend these designs, please note that while plunging necklines are a popular design element, they don't usually go past the belly button. Skating costumes are frequently supposed to give the illusion of nudity, But if you can actually see the belly button, that's considered a bit too risque. Certain skaters like Elizaveta Tuktamisheva, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, I can't speak Russian, I'm sorry, may push the nude illusion to the extreme, but this goes a bit too far and conservative judges usually aren't happy with that. I believe the illusion of excessive nudity may actually go against official ISU rules, thereby qualifying for a point deduction from the skater's overall score, so that's very bad. Also very subjective, like most of skating, but people usually don't want to push the rules too far. As far as seam finishes go, pretty much everything is serged. In cheaper costumes, the thread color may not even match. But if you don't have access to a serger, never fear. The zigzag stitch or any other stretch stitch on your machine will work just as well. Stretch fabrics don't fray, so you don't really need to worry about it, and if any chiffon pieces start to fray inside a seam, you can always treat them with fray check. You should use high quality polyester thread in a matching color, and if you are using a serger, make sure you're using woolly nylon in the loopers for an extra stretchy and professional looking finish. Since serged seams are pretty unobtrusive, they're left free unless it's around the neckline or a rounded cutout where you don't want it to show through the nude mesh or spandex. In those cases, they're top stitched, although usually the top stitching is covered by a line of crystals or other embellishment. Skirt hems are almost always finished with a rolled hem, which can either be done on the serger or by hand. With lightweight silk chiffon, it's a little bit tricky to use the normal sewing machine since the feed dogs tend to really want to suck the fabric in and will leave hideous holes in your beautiful silk fabric, and then you'll cry. I know from personal experience. There's also sometimes fish line inserted into the rolled hem for extra bounce and movement. This is a really lovely effect. I'll link a couple of good tutorials down in the description. Pant hems are usually done with a cover stitch machine, but since I don't actually know anyone who has one, a serged or folded hem is just fine. In fact, some men's practice pants are actually sold unhemmed as knit material doesn't ravel. Decorations like these 3D appliques can, depending on what they're made out of, be hemmed, finished with fray check, or have the edges sealed with a lighter. You don't really need any notions for skating costumes besides a firm, narrow elastic for the leotard legs, hooks or covered buttons to close the neck if your dress has a high neckline, and an invisible zipper if you're making pants or a dress with a high neckline and closed back. I think that's about it. Please let me know if you have any questions or would like an in-depth video on any particular subject. I'm not sure what people are interested in, so I'm trying to keep these videos minimal, which, as you can probably tell, is a Herculean effort for me since I tend to like to ramble about a lot of unrelated things. But I'd be more than happy to make more videos, depending on what information people need. Alrighty, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an absolutely marvelous day. And I'll leave all of the following links down in the description box. I don't know why I'm pointing. Everyone knows where that is. YouTube's been around for like 12 years.